We finally made it to Tunisia. It's been a long adventure to get here. The whole reason for coming to Tunisia is to get some work on the boat done. Because 1, it's out of the EU and out of the Shenzhen. 2, it's super cheap. 3, fun adventure to get here. 4, nice weather, nice people. 5, it was recommended by Martin. I mean, I've been working on this boat now for about 2 years, and it's almost where I want it. But until you get to that point, you still have a list of things to do. That list has shrunk and then grown and then shrunk and then grown, but there's been things on that list that have been there since the beginning, and I'm trying to get it to the point to where it's like, I don't know what else to do to make it better. Another reason for coming to Tunisia is I needed a cheap place to leave the boat, that it would be safe so I could take a trip to Portugal to film for Florp. Once Jacob left, I had about a week to get everything lined up with Mick so that he can be working and fixing up the boat while I'm in Portugal filming. Before we really get into this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can see more videos like this one. We need to scrape and then varnish all of the wood on top of the deck. The rail on both sides has been leaking and is damaged, so that needs to be epoxied. The anchor pedestal needs to be taken apart and then reshaped because we were on anchor and somebody hit us and bent up the anchor pedestal.
Look at all that open space. And he came right there.
That has been causing the secondary anchor to fall off and scrape against the boat, which will now need to be sanded back, filled, and then painted over again. Also, on the way to Tunisia, the forestay broke. Mick and Adele had some guys come and were able to take that down, and then Mick was able to repair the forestay for me while I was in Portugal.
Oh, completely the cable.
Yeah.
You lucky.
The Bimini has been like limping along for a while. It's barely waterproof, and I wanted to move the solar panel onto the davit, so took the solar panel off of the Bimini. Adele came and cut the Bimini apart, made his templates out of plastic to make a new Bimini. I had him make a spray hood to connect the Bimini to the Dodger. I wanted an option to have that covered, and then they put giant windows in it so you can see all around, and then we've got a window in the Bimini itself so we can see up and look at the mainsail from within the cockpit, opposed to before, because the solar panel was up there. It was kind of a bit of a pain. The old Bimini was too short, and so I was constantly hunched over, and now this one has been raised. With the Bimini and then the rain cover and the spray hood, it's like the boat functions without that kind of stuff, but that steps it up another level. He also made dinghy chaps, makes the dinghy look way better. While I was in Malta, Jacob and I had went and we got carpet, and that was a whole adventure just trying to find this place to get carpet. Got that installed in the quarter berth and in the forecastle, which makes, I think upgrades the boat a lot. Because the forecastle used to just be foam, and then the quarter berth was just the hull. One of my top priorities to get fixed was above the galley. That area of fiberglass was delaminated from the wood. Somehow water got in there, and so the wood and the fiberglass had separated, which drastically decreases the strength of that whole area. And so when we were sailing on a port tack, you would hear all that tension getting transferred into the cockpit combing, which caused a giant crack in the cockpit combing. So it was very important that we take out that rotted wood and fix that. And so Mick did that while I was in Portugal. That was like the first thing I had him start on. So he had to cut out the fiberglass, dig out all of that wood, and then we actually put in 2 pieces of hardwood, and it's thicker than it was before, and then put the ceiling back on. And so that is way more solid than it was. A big job was doing the maintenance on all of the winches. Making them smoother and making them cleaner. Cleaning them makes the whole experience of sailing just a little bit better. The majority of your life is these little routine things, and so if you fix those and optimize those, that spills over into your whole life, because you're like setting up the actual root and foundation of your existence to be optimized and correct. By far, the winches that were in the worst state were the ones on the mast. The handles had been basically seized into place. Cutting off the handle, we were able to get the winch apart, but then there was still that, like, the gear bit in it that we couldn't get out. Mick actually had to take the pieces to a metal worker and put it on a lathe and drill out that center piece in order to get it all cleaned out. So then I was able to degrease and then put these winches back together. And one of the winches, salt had been getting underneath the base plate and it was rock solid. So much salt had been getting up and expanding that it had bent and broken part of the base plate. And so I spent about an hour, maybe 2 hours, cleaning out underneath this winch, and then I pounded the base plate back together. Now that winch actually works, which I'm pretty stoked about. Jackson has just arrived, so I'm walking over to meet him. It has been a long time. A year? Over a year? I think it's been over a year since I've seen him. When he left to go back to Canada, there was a plan eventually for him to come back out on the boat, but because of the way everything worked, it was just a longer period without him on the boat. But he did many awesome things while he was in North America. He converted a van and then traveled North America and did a bunch of filming for Floor. So he flew out to Tunisia. How's it going, man? Good.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Welcome to Africa. Now he's back on the boat and we're going to do a bunch of sailing together. But first we need to do some more boat work. Get him sanding the passerelle so that we can get that all ready to go and everything's ship shape before we get into the water. The zipper on the sail bag needed to be replaced, and there were some small bits on the boom that I needed welding on. So I took the whole boom down. When Jackson got here, we needed to put the boom back on, and so we did that, and relatively easy process, not that difficult, all things considered. A lot of these jobs that I've done in Tunisia this time around, before I thought, wow, that is a huge pain in the butt. Never thought I would take the boom off. I thought that was a giant job, but really it's like 2 bolts in a knot. If you don't understand something, you get scared of it and you don't want to do it. And then you do it and you realize, oh, that wasn't that scary. There's nothing to be afraid of. Now I understand the boat better and I could do this again if I needed to. There's one last big job that needs to be done. The boat needs to be pulled out of the water because I ran around in Linosa and need to do fiberglass work to repair the boat. I was told explicitly that the boatyard in Hammamet is very dishonest. They will haul you out, tell you a price, and then before you go back in, they will double the price or more. And if you don't pay it, they just won't put your boat back in the water. And that's how they operate. Mick did not recommend using the boatyard there. He told me sail down to Monastir and do it in Monastir. It's about 40 something miles. So that's a nice 8+ hour sail. See you in Monastir, Mick. Departure was absolutely simple. Cast off the lines and then let the wind push us and then set the sail and we're, boom, off to the races. There you go, and we're already sailing. Magic. Dude. Epic, perfect sailing for a first one.
Oh man, oh, it feels so good to be back.
The wind is pretty much perfect to sail to Monastir. It's coming almost dead astern, and it's blowing like 25-30 knots. It was great to get back on the water. The closer we got to Monastir, the bigger the seas built up. We ended up experiencing at one point 4-foot seas maybe. Temperature pretty good. A little bit chilly out there with the wind. We were greeted on the way by dolphins, which is always a fantastic experience to see dolphins. Oh my God, that dolphin jumped so high! They came and played with the boat, played in the wake. Dolphins are very intelligent. You get the feeling that they know that you're on the boat. The way they play around a boat versus not around a boat, it's like they'll come and play with the boat, jump out of the water, everything like that, all within like 20 meters of the boat. It's like they come and play in this area that the boat's in as you're sailing, and then they just disappear. It's a very strange thing, but it's always a joy to see dolphins. We were trying to get to Monastir before dark, but the way that it turned out, we ended up getting there just after sunset, but nothing we can't handle, and so we dropped the anchor. All's well for first sail after, for me, month and a half in Jackson, year and a half. It all went well.
It was so nice to get back on the water. Sure, it was a bit rolly, but it's just it's like nature's roller coaster. It was really good.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe. Big love. Remember to stay hydrated.